everyone. My name is Kesley Anderson, and I will be your Cricut coach for the day. For the next hour. Super excited to have you guys here. Don't forget that this class is being recorded. So if you have questions after the class, you want to go back and watch the video and pause it, you always have that option to do it. But if you'd like to craft along with me today, that will be fantastic. And I'll invite you to open up Design Space with me when we get to that point. Now, we do have Anita from Cricut on the back end here to answer any of your questions. And since this is a webinar, all your questions should go in the Q&A, and I'll keep my eye on that as well so that I can see if you have any questions as we go along. Why don't we go ahead and dive right in? I'll share my screen and we'll get started with a little presentation about the Married PJ Party with Cricut. So this class is about making pajama sets. So you may have purchased your bottoms, or you may be sewing your own bottoms, and then you want to add a shirt that will coordinate. So let's take a peek at some ideas I put together for you. Now, for your party supplies, you need to have iron-on material, whether that's a glitter iron-on or everyday iron-on or smart iron-on, some sort of iron-on material. Your shirts, your PJ shirts or a t-shirt or a sweatshirt, a weeding tool, your standard grip mat, an easy press mat, and of course your Cricut cutter. Now I have some of my old markings there. At Michael's, you can find a ton of different t-shirt options. I pulled out the Bella Canvas. Those are I love working with those t-shirts with their great cotton feel to them, and they work really well with the Cricut vinyl. But you can use any of the shirts you find at Michael's or anywhere else. Our iron-on vinyl will work on any type of t-shirt. We have a lot of different options with your Cricut iron-on material. Just to name a few, we have express iron-on, everyday, a mosaic type of iron-on, mesh, pattern iron-on, holographic, foil, and glitter iron-on. I skipped over Sports Flex because the Sports Flex iron-on material is designed to work with high polyester content and nylon shirts. And it's designed to flex and stretch with the shirt. So if you are using Sports Flex iron-on material, you want to make sure that you're using more of a high polyester or nylon shirt than you would be using with like your cotton shirt. There's 3 easy steps to designing your Christmas t-shirts. First is to design the shirt itself, and then to cut the materials, select your materials and cut them, and then to assemble. So we'll go through all those 3 different steps. The first part, the designing part, we're going to work with Cricut Design Space. And you can see within Design Space, there's a couple of different ways that you can make your creations. One is to use designs that are already set up for you that are Christmas. I did a Christmas PJ search, and I came up with all these different shirts that were different designs that were available. And Cricut has this really cool new feature where you can replace the text. So when you see an image that has blue text on it like this, that means when you open that design on your canvas, the text line is its own layer, and you can double click on that layer and replace whatever text is written there with your own text. So my last name is Anderson, so I would replace this Erickson family with the Anderson family. And it just makes it so much easier and faster to make your designs using the text replace feature. Those are called editable images. And that just means that you can edit the text on those images. But you can also use those as inspiration for images you might want to create using, instead of taking an image that's already pre-designed, ready to go, you can take an image that is, this that's pre-designed and add your own spin to it. So this one was an image that's pre-designed. Again, it has the editable image, so I can change this text layer here and add different text images for different family members. So it's really fun, like depending on who's coming for Christmas, you could have different sayings on your shirt. And then you can always use this kind of design for other seasons or other holidays. So if you did something on Valentine's Day, instead of having maybe the stars and the flowers here, you might make that into hearts and then say voted most likely to, and then a theme that goes with your Halloween. Now, the third way I was suggesting was to take an image. So I found the image here with the ornaments on it and then added a family name to it. So whereas some of the other designs, I may make the same shirt for every family member, this design I could make for change it up and add people's names to the design. Now, a fun way to do this type of design is then to take the ornament image and use that in a tag or even just on the pocket of a t-shirt. So let's say one person has a shirt that you can do the design across the whole shirt, but maybe another person has just the pocket on a shirt, or you just want to do a small design. Maybe they don't go for the big design. You could just take one ornament and put a name underneath it and make that into somebody's shirt. So this is what we're going to be creating today, finding an image and adding text to that image and working those together. So we'll work on that one together in Design Space. Now, Cricut also has, with Cricut Access, you have your images and your projects, but you also have fonts. And sometimes when you want to do your own design, you get a little tricked up on which fonts go well with each other. So I've pulled some of the new font combinations for you. And these are the names of the font, like Catchland pairs well with Tamino. Gin and Tonic, I thought, paired really well with this Malaysian Circa. I loved how you have kind of like the harder lines of the Gin and Tonic text font style, and then the cursive with the Malaysian Circa. This one, the Romano and Alia, I'm not sure how to say that last one, but these two, I paired these two together because the Romliano is a taller font. And so when you are pairing fonts, sometimes it works really well to pair a tall font with a shorter font. So I put those two together. And then these two, Baird and Aeronavis, I paired those together because the Baird is a really thick, heavy font line, and the Aeronavis is a leaner font line, but with the angles to the font, I felt like it paired really well together. So these are just some ideas if you're making your own design, if you want to do like, Merry Christmas in one font and then your family name in another font, or do, like your family name, Anderson, in Catchland, and then each individual person's name using the Tamino. This was just to kind of jumpstart your font creation here. Now I love this one on a sweatshirt. So I'm talking a lot about t-shirts, but don't forget, you can add your designs to sweatshirts as well. It doesn't have to just be on a t-shirt. You could do that. And then this one, I love this design really big, but again, I thought it would look really cute as more of a label, like a hello, my name is kind of label size on the pocket of a t-shirt or sweatshirt. And speaking of size, how do you know what size to make your shirt? Not what size to make your shirt, what size to make your design. So this is a basic starting point for your designs. You can obviously adjust, go bigger, go smaller, depending on where you want your design to fall on the shirt and how you want it to look. So usually if I'm working on a small to medium sized shirt, I make my design about 9 inches to start with, and then I can go a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller. So my design that I've got to show you how to put together with the Christmas trees, I actually made that. It's on a small shirt, but I made it 10.5 inches because I intend for my family to wear those at Christmas. And I wanted to make sure that the design would show up on pictures so I could have it at a distance. So I made that actually a 10.5 size shirt design. But when you're designing for a family, you may have family members that are all the way down in the 6 to 9 month range and family members that are all the way up in an extra large range. So the design you use, you do want to adjust and change that design based on the shirt you're working with, because think about like an extra large shirt, which I recommend starting off with like an 11, probably an 11.5 or 12-inch design using a 5-inch baby design. So it would be like this little bitty baby design on this big shirt. So keep that in mind. Also, my other rule of thumb as I'm designing my shirts is the placement of the design from the neckline. So on the bottom here, you see the general guidelines for where to place your decal. And I usually do it like 2 to 3 fingers from the collar line. And I've got a great little tool in my design space I'll share with you. And you can make a little thing. You'll see it when we get to the overhead. Now, as far as using our Easy Press machines, the Cricut Easy Press 3 comes with Bluetooth. So it will pair with a heat app, the Cricut Heat app on your mobile device. And you can automatically send your heat settings to the Easy Press 3. So if you don't have an Easy Press, I'd suggest you look at the Easy Press 3 because it does have that feature with the Bluetooth. And believe it or not, like, especially if you're working late at night and you're working under the gun, trying to get something done, it is good to have the app because it walks you through each step. Now, if you have one of our earlier versions of the Easy Press to Easy Press 2, those are not Bluetooth compatible, but our app has our Cricut Heat Guide in the app. So you can just pull that up and set your Easy Press to those settings that are recommended in the Heat Guide. So whether you're using the Heat Guide on your phone or you're using the Heat Guide on your computer, I always recommend to pull up the Heat Guide and get your heat settings so you match your t-shirt design and your iron-on material with your t-shirt and you get the right heat settings. If you're joining me today and using a household iron, you'll still be able to place your design on your t-shirt. Couple recommendations. You want to use the highest setting that your iron will go. And usually that's like a cotton or linen setting. And you want to make sure the steam is off. One of the things you do before you put your design on your shirt is you preheat the area that you're going to be adhering your design to, and that helps take out any moisture in your shirt. So you want to make sure that your blank doesn't have any moisture in it, and that's why we do the preheat. And then you place the weeded image with the liner side up onto your preheated material. If you're using a home iron, I want to recommend you cover that with a Teflon sheet, parchment paper, butcher paper, or a pressing cloth. And that way it protects your iron in case you accidentally put your design on your shirt the wrong way and you don't put your iron right on iron-on material. But it also gives a little bit of a barrier and smooths out your surface that you're ironing onto. And instead of thinking of using your home iron like you would a normal iron to press out any wrinkles, I want you to think of it like a press. So when you use your home iron, instead of gliding the iron across your material, think about pressing and holding it for that 10 to 15 seconds or longer, picking it up and moving it and pressing and holding it again, as opposed to sliding and gliding across. Then at the end, we'll flip the material over and give it one last press. I do have all the projects today are shared in my profile. So if you find my profile, Kesley Anderson in Design Space, the 3 projects I'm showing today are in Design Space. And if after the class you have questions, you can always reach me on Facebook, Instagram, on YouTube using @kesley.365. So I always love to connect after the class so I can try and answer any more questions that you might have. And now if you do have any questions, don't forget to open up the Q&A at the bottom of your screen there, and we can answer any of those questions that I didn't go over in the presentation. And if you're ready to, we'll go ahead and share our screen again. And I'm going to share my screen with Design Space. So we'll open up our Design Space and make our first project together. Let me just move that over. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so everybody should be able to see my Design Space. I'm just going to grab a sip of water. Okay, so when you come into Design Space on your desktop or your laptop, you come into the Cricut home screen. And on the home screen, you have all of featured images, you have community project images, things that are new and trending are on here. So it's always fun to check out the home screen and get some ideas and inspiration. You can also use this option here, the keyword search, and do a keyword search for whatever it is you're looking for. So the first image I'm going to look for is something that is maybe an ornament. If you like to do that little ornament design with the name, or you could do Christmas trees, but I think I'll start with ornaments and see if I get an ornament that I like. So there are a lot of options here of different ornaments that I could work with. And if I click on view all the different ornaments in Design Space that are images will pop up for me, and I can choose any of these ornaments to work with. Now, if I have Cricut Access, you'll notice all these images, the prices are all marked out because they're all included in Cricut Access. If you don't have Cricut Access, you can filter and find a free image to work with. So you could work with any of these images here. And you can also, if you find an image that you love and you want to use that image, you could use it, but I call it a la carte. So you just kind of buy as you go, and you just purchase 1 or 2 designs as you go. And then they become part of your Cricut library of images that you can reference back to and use at any time. And I'm not saying I wanted to find a grouping of ornaments. So let's go into new project, replace this here. And I'm going to look in images, and what I'm going to do is just browse all images, and I'll type in the keyword. Well, that's a cute one. Do you ever see a cute design in Design Space? And you're like, oh, I may have to use that later. I better save that design. That is a cute one. So I do wine bags as gifts. So that's a really fun one. Okay, so I'm just going to do a search for ornaments, and same ornaments came up. It's so funny, you know, I found an ornament I really loved and I didn't save it. What did I look for? Oh, I was looking for Christmas PJs. Let's try that one again. So here are some of the Christmas PJs ideas. So here are some cute little trees. If I wanted to use the tree designs for my individual shirt design, I could do that. Or I could do a little ornament, or if for my pet, if you're a pet family, you could do some trees with designs like that. Or you could even do something like this one that would hang down from your neckline, which is super cute. And then you have these little stockings that you could do have a row of stockings and put your names above the stocking line. Something like that would be fun, or even just a little decoration like the rainbow. But let's say you wanted to do something with the ornaments, but this wasn't exactly what you were looking for. You could narrow your search down by clicking on the designer's profile page. And when you pull up that designer profile page, if you like one design from that designer, but it's not exactly what you're looking for, chances are you'll find another design that you like. So if you had, like I'm looking at them again, the ornaments. If you had 3 people in your family, maybe you would go with 3 ornaments. Or if you had 5 people in your family, you may choose the mittens, and each mitten would represent somebody, or the trees would represent somebody in your family. And then you could, again, like I was saying, use those designs, those individual designs, to be their tag for their gifts. So why don't we grab in I have 3 kids, so I'll take this ornament that has the 3 ornaments on it, and I'll add that to my canvas. Now, the shirt I have to work with is, I think it's a small shirt. It's a medium shirt. So my design, I don't really want it to be bigger than, say, 9 to 10 inches. So I'm going to go up to the design, the width of your design, and change that design to 9 inches. And that will make it just a little bit smaller for me. I want to make sure I have the Q&A open in case anybody has questions as we're going through. So so there's my 9 inches, and that's going to be the ornaments that will go in the center of my shirt. And then I want to add each person's name to the design. So I could just add a text box to my canvas and type in my family member's name. And let's say I want this to be 9 inches, so it would be the same dimension as the same width as my ornament. So if I were to put this on my shirt, I would do it like that. But maybe I don't want it so tall. I want to change my font. And Cricut, in Cricut Access, you have over 700 fonts to work with. So you're going to find a font that you like with all the different designs. So I'm thinking I want something that's shorter, maybe a little bit narrower font. So let me try that AILEY. I think that's how you spell it. Nope. And let me make sure it's not a Kern font. Oh, I may be spelling it wrong. Okay. I should have written it down. I keep saying that to myself. I should write these down. Anita, do you know the name of that new font by any chance?
I do not. Was it one of the ones that you did with the pairings?
It was. I could pull that back up. That one's fun. That may be it. But there's so many fun fonts to choose from. Like you can really, I can get so go down a rabbit hole of fonts I like to use in Design Space. But also if I have uploaded fonts to my computer system, I can use those fonts as well. And I would just click on the system fonts and I could find those types of fonts. And Cricut does offer a number of free fonts. So if you don't have Cricut Access, you could just come over to the filter and filter with using the different filters. So you could always filter to find free fonts that are available for you to use.
And Kesley,
yes,
the other really nice feature is the new bookmark feature. So if you click that little box to the right,
yes,
that will put it to bookmarked, and then you can always find them later.
And that's what I should have done with those new fonts. I should have taken all those new fonts and bookmarked them because they're so fun.
So you have Catchland. What did it look like?
I'm going to try
more of the.
I'm going to try gin and tonic.
Okay.
Because that's
the gin and tonic was one of them.
Yeah, I like that one. And I can just change that because that kind of goes with like the the curves of the font here go with the curves in the ornament. So you could go either way. If you wanted to, I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. I think that that will be better. So when you do your name on your design, it doesn't have, it could be above your design, it could be below your design. If you don't like the angles of that A, for example, you could go with a lowercase letter, but I kind of like on this one, I like the angles of it because it goes with the angles here. And then my curves on my M go with the curves here. So I'm going to leave it like that. And I kind of like that. And I like it a little bit smaller. So overall, if I select both of those layers, my design will be 9 inches by 6.5 inches for my shirt. Now, if I wanted to make sure that the name was right underneath the ornaments, when I select both layers, and you see right now on my screen, I just have Adam selected. If I wanted to select both of them, I would need to pull my cursor across both layers. And then up in the edit bar, I can do a line and align center horizontally. And what that does is it just lines them right up on a center pole, one right on top of the other. Now from here, I can also try different colors. So let's say I want to change my base material color to white. I would just click on this little box with the question mark, and I would turn them both to white. Now, if I'm putting this on a shirt and I want to see, well, how is that going to look on the shirt? If I do white vinyl and my shirt is red, you can actually change the color of the canvas. So if you didn't know you could do this, this is the fun thing. At the bottom of your layers panel, it says blank canvas. When I click on that and I come up to the top and I click on the color icon, I can change my canvas to represent the color of my shirt. So then from here, I could go back to my ornaments and say, well, you know what? Maybe I don't want those white. Maybe I want to do those green and see how that looks. Or maybe I want to do it with a black glitter. Oh, that looks, ooh, kind of like that. Okay, I have my white material out, but I kind of like the black. I think I'm going to do it in black. Okay, so see how just by seeing it on your screen sometimes will change what you had intended to do. I had intended to do this in white, but the pajama bottoms that go with it are that black and red. So actually the black will look great. And then if I want to go back to a white canvas, I just go back down to the bottom of my layers panel. I click on the canvas icon and I can change my canvas back to white. Or if I were doing a gray shirt, you could change it to gray and see how it's going to look and play around with your colors that way. Now, when you send it to your machine doesn't really care what color your material is on your screen. So while it's black on my screen, I can always, again, change my mind and make it, I can make it red or white when I go to cut it. So that doesn't matter. But now that I have the color selected, I've got it all lined up perfectly. Let me show you what happens if I send this over to my machine as it is right now. If I say make it, what it does, since those are two different layers and they're not attached together, it adjusts the layers to maximize your material. So instead of keeping the atom centered right underneath the ornaments, it slid that over to the left and lined it up with the left side. So let me go back to my canvas and show you, once you have your image designed on your canvas how you want it, you can select both of those layers again and you want to attach them together. So think of attaching like, okay, I'm going to staple the atom to the ornaments. That's exactly how, where I want the name to be placed under the ornaments. You select attach and then you send it over to your machine and it places the name right underneath your ornament. So if I had just used one ornament on, and I was doing it on a pocket or something like that, I would just, you'd want to attach it together. If you were doing multiple layers, you can attach multiple layers together. Then once you have your image on your prepare screen, you have one more step here to do, and that's mirror. What mirror does is it flips your image around. So if you see right now, I can read the name Adam, but I need to mirror my image because I'm using an iron-on material to cut. And to use your iron-on material, you actually have to cut from the back side of the material, and then you flip it over and it goes irons down on the right side. So you always, when you're doing anything with heat, any iron-on, you want to make sure that you're mirroring your image. And I will show you what happens when you forget to do that, because it happens. Then you come over to your next screen, and this is where you choose the material you'll be using. So I'm going to cut this design on Smart Iron-On material. I'm using a Maker 3, so I can cut right with my Smart Iron-On material, and I can cut that right out. Now, if I were doing one of the other Christmas designs that had just if I just used the Anderson family underneath those ornaments, you can use your Smart material. And I'm slip over here and grab this. You can use your Smart material and cut out 9 feet of your designs. So if you have a really large family and you're going to do the same design for everybody, you can use your Smart material and cut out 9 feet of your designs. Your Smart iron-on roll of iron-on material comes at 9 feet. So you can just cut it. You can load your machine up with your Smart material and it will just cut 9 feet at once. So if I weren't doing individual shirts, I would want to use the Smart iron-on material and just cut it all at once. So let me go ahead and share my overhead. There we go. So here's my overhead. And while I'm getting my machine to cut out my design, I'm going to go ahead and turn my Easy Press on. So when I'm ready to cut, it's all set up and ready to go. Okay, so I didn't realize this was a new package. I brought this over so I could show you all what the Smart iron-on material and how big it was, how long the roll was, and what the possibilities were for using that material. So I have, let's see. I want to make sure I have one open. Nope, I guess not. All right, we'll go ahead and open this one up. So your Smart iron-on material works in your Maker 3 and your Explore 3 without using a mat. You can also use Smart iron-on material in your Explore Air or Maker. You just would need to use a mat with it. And I'll be cutting with a mat and without a mat. I'm not going to cut with a mat. I don't know, we'll see. But I'm going to do this one with a mat. Without the mat, using my Smart iron-on material. And because I have like this really long roll of material, I'm going to use, if I can get it out. Sorry. Oh my goodness, I'm struggling to get this out of the box. Maybe it's not going to let me cut. Here we go. All right. So if I take my long roll, and I don't want it to roll off my table or roll around the floor, I can use my roll holder. If I'm just using a small piece of the Smart material, I don't necessarily use my roll holder, but if I'm using a larger piece of the material, I want to use my roll holder. And what the roll holder does is it holds your material all together, so it doesn't go flopping off your table. And you just feed it in underneath the handles and then underneath your tabs in your machine. So I'm just going to feed that right in there, and I'm just going to push it up against the gray rollers there. And then the machine's going to pull it in and make sure that I have enough of the material on my roll that it will cut the whole length. So if you were doing, making 12 shirts, it would actually pull in enough material to make sure that you have enough to make 12 shirts. And I may have set mine to not cut. I may not have set it to cut without a mat. I didn't. I'm going to just go back and change my cut settings so it cuts without a mat. There we go. But keep it mirrored. Always want to keep it mirrored. I'll be using Smart Iron-On. Okay. So now I just cut this out. And once you cut, so what I want to show you is the dull side here of the material. This is the wrong side. So it's actually the back side of your iron-on material. And when you cut out your design and you weed it, it stays on this carrier sheet. And the carrier sheet has this shiny side on this one. And then the dull material side has like a little bit of stick to it. So that helps you place this onto your blank, your shirt, whatever you're putting it onto. But you see how I'm cutting from the back side of the material. And the matte side here is the side that has the adhesive. So when I put this on my shirt, I actually have to turn it over. So this matte side is the side that faces my shirt. So that's why you have to mirror. If you forget to mirror, this is what happens. So I cut out my shirt, another shirt I'm going to show you, we're going to make if you're layering materials. So I cut this design out. This is the wrong side. It's the matte side here, and it's got like the stick here. This is the shiny side. So when you put your design on your shirt, you want to have the shiny side up and the material onto your shirt. Well, when I cut this one out, I totally forgot to mirror it. So if I were to put this on my shirt, I'd put it down like this and I would have it backwards. You could read it if you were looking in the mirror. But this is where when you're using your home iron, if you, I recommend putting a sheet over it. If you really weren't paying attention or you didn't kind of understand how the iron-on material worked, you may put this down on your shirt and put your iron right on top of that. And now you just got the iron-on vinyl on your iron. So we all, like, the unmirroring everybody does it. Everyone's done it. Now, once it's cut, I can use the little blade here and run that across my material and it cuts it. And then I can unload my design. Then I'll just trim off that side and show you how to weed your design. And the weeding part of the design removes any excess material that you don't want to have as part of your design. So I'll save this little piece for another project. And then I'll take my weeding tool. Where's my weeding tool? I'll take my weeding tool and I start in the corner. So the weeding tool has like a pointy tip here. And I'll start in the corner and I'll grab that little bit of material and pull it down and expose the design that I want to keep. And so I just kind of work at like a 45-degree angle across my design and remove the excess material from the carrier sheet. And then this material that I'm pulling out, I'm not going to be keeping, so I'll throw that away. Now, if you're using the Sports Flex material, keep in mind that that is intended to stretch with your shirt. So it will pull a little bit differently than regular vinyl does, than our other types of vinyl. So now I just use my little weeding tool and I come in and I pull out all these little pieces. One trick I have is I usually have my lint brush right next to me. Let me grab my lint brush here. I'll keep my lint brush here. So all these little pieces, as I remove them from my design, I can put them on the lint brush. And that's always a great way to keep everything tucked away like that. Because if you just leave it on your table, it'll make a big mess. And then you may accidentally iron it onto your shirt, or you may get it on your clothes and iron it where you don't intend to iron it. You just never know. So I do like to have a little way to contain it. All right. Now, when do you gift these shirts to people? I'm curious when other people gift their family pajamas. Do you start wearing them now, or do you wait until a certain day that you start wearing your pajamas? Do you do these for New Year's Eve? Do you wear them all year? I saw somebody recently when we were talking about holiday pajamas, they didn't use them throughout the year. They only wore them on that one Christmas morning. And I laughed because I wear my pajamas, my Christmas pajamas, I wear them all year. So I don't just wear it at Christmas time, because it's also a memory of that time with your family. So it's kind of every time I put those pajamas on or I wash them for somebody in my family, I think about that particular Christmas or something. So it's always kind of nice to have those memories and those as you're doing chores of washing people's clothes, to have your memories of Christmas morning or something like that. So, and I think we kind of get into them early and start wearing them as a family early. Okay, so I've got that all designed out. It's all weeded. So you can see this is actually the material side. That dull side was the material side. This carrier sheet is the shiny side is just the carrier sheet. So I wanted, you pulled out all the design there. And then I'm going to use an easy pad, a Cricut Easy Press. So this is my Easy Press, and this is just a nice big size. So I can use the bigger Easy Press with it. And the first thing I'm going to do is get my shirt prepped for my design. So I'll take my design and kind of fold it in half and put just a little notch mark on the half marks here. So I know where my design, where the middle part of my design is. Then you want to take your shirt and you want to do the preheating step on that. So what I like to do is I actually take my shirt and I'll fold it in half, matching up my neckline. And when I press it so that the fold line is down the middle of my shirt, and that marks the middle of my shirt. So I use that line to line up my design. But here's the question. How do you know how much pressure to put with the design? How do you know what temperature to set your Easy Press at? Well, all of those questions are answered in the Cricut Heat Guide. So let me grab my phone and I'll show you in the Cricut Heat Guide how we can get the how I get my settings. So I have the Cricut Heat Guide app is on my phone here. And I just click on the Heat Guide app and it pulls it up. Now, if I don't have the Easy Press 3, I would just open the Heat Guide and it takes me to the Cricut website where I put the information in on what machine I'm using, what my base material is, and what my heat transfer material is, and it will give me the settings. But I have my Easy Press set up with my machine here, and I'm going to start a new project. So my material I'm transferring on is Smart Iron-On, and I'm putting it on a 100% cotton shirt, and I'll be using the Cricut pressing mat. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. Now it tells me it's going to set my temperature to 315 degrees. So let me show you what that looks like. I have my Easy Press here, and as I mentioned, I'd already turned it on. So it's going to cool this down to 329 degrees. And then it will, I'll do my first press, that one that gets rid of that heat, the moisture for me, and then I'll do the next press. And I want to put this somewhere so you guys can see it as it's working, as it's thinking. Now, this little piece underneath, I use this. This is available in my design space. So if you go to my profile, if you look up Kesley Anderson and go to my profile, you'll see I have this project available in my profile for design space. This is, it's on a piece of cardstock and I use the pen to write out the markings, but this is the tool I use that helps me center my design as well as get my finger distance for my design on my shirt. So I'll show you how we use that. And you can, if for something more permanent, you can purchase an acrylic guide. But I didn't have an acrylic guide, so I just made that and it's worked out nicely. Okay, so my easy press is ready to go at 315 degrees for 5 seconds. So I'm just going to bring it over onto my shirt and I hit the green go button and it starts to count down for me and everything. Now, if you didn't have the app, you could just use these buttons here and change the heat and the temperature and the time. So you would just change that up as you work. Okay, so my shirt is nice. I've got that really vivid middle line there to work with. And I just use my guide here and I put it along the collar. Now from my neck, I said I want to have my design like 2 to 3 inches, 2 to 3 fingers down. And the fingers always depend on your own personal preference. So 2 fingers is good, 3 fingers is okay, whatever you like to do. So as I put this up on my collar, and you'll see where my 3 fingers go is here, 2 fingers is at the bottom of this line here. So either way, I'll have a good distance from my neckline of where my image goes. If you wanted to, you can mark this with 3 inches and then match it up with your collar and you get your markings. So if I match this up right with the edge of my collar there and I go 3 fingers, how many fingers down is it? It's about 4 fingers down. So you could do it like that, whatever you're comfortable with. So I've got that as my guide and I can use the measurements here if I'm putting multiple pieces together. But since this is all cut together and it's all held together as is, I only need to line up my center. So I'll put the top of my ornament at my 3 fingers down. And then I line up my center folds here. So that will be in the center of my shirt. Now, another way to measure to make sure that you've got it exactly how you want it is to measure the sides of your shirt on each side and make sure that you have the same distance on your shirt. So if I were to take my tape measure and I would measure from the edge of this ornament over, it's about 8 centimeters. And from the edge of this ornament over, it's about 9 centimeters. So I could just kind of wiggle this over a little bit if I wanted to and get it more in the middle. So measure here, use your center line here. You can even measure from your shoulder points down if you wanted to, but that's really a good measure. And if I'm doing it for my family, I don't stress about it too much because you don't want perfection to get in the way of your project. Okay, so now I've got it positioned right. I just grab my easy press. I'm going to bring it over and hold it, apply firm pressure, and you see how it's counting down? So it counts down on the app and on my easy press. And then I'm holding it down and we're letting it go. And then I have to let it cool. The cooling is the hardest part. But if you, what I do like to do when I cool my shirts is either wave, if I need to do it quickly, is kind of like wave it in the air. If I don't need to do it quickly, like if I can let it just sit and cool, I'll do that. I was hoping that would be cold. It's not. But you can just kind of wave it in the air and let it air out. You can set it on a chair, go do laundry, go do dishes, whatever you need to do. I forgot my step, and see, that's where the app really helps me. I forgot to do the back press of my shirt. So 15 seconds, firm pressure. We put that right down, and I forgot that step. Now the other one, I've got another design. So while this one's cooling, I thought I would show you how, if you are using multiple colors in your design, how you do that. So I'll set this one aside. We'll let that cool, let Adam cool off over here. And then I have another design to show you that has multiple colors in it. And let me see. Uh-oh. Oh, here, nope. This is the one I cut out, and I cut these the wrong way, but I recut them so they would be the right way. And I don't see them. Here they are. Is this that? Here we go. So this one I had to recut the Anderson family. So you can see, I want to show you the difference of the right way and the wrong way. Here I've got to just weed out my little center pieces here. And if you are worried about like making sure you got all your little pieces, I like to look back on Design Space, and I'll look at the canvas and see where those images are that I'm using, and make sure that I did get everything removed from it. So that's always good. Okay. So this was the one, this was the right way, and this was the wrong way. Because you can see I can read it this way, but when I put it on my shirt, it's backwards. This is the correct way to cut it. I cut from the back, and when I put it on my shirt, I'll be able to read it. So I have the Anderson family, some trees, and then I had the Merry Christmas thing. So we'll just pull that off here, 2 seconds. Anita, everyone's so quiet today. I'm not seeing any
Yes,
questions.
they are. There's been a few, but not many.
Feel free to ask questions as I'm showing you these next 2 designs, because if you have questions now, then that's awesome. I'm sure somebody else is probably thinking those same things. And you never know, like I always love it. I get so many good questions that I don't think about sometimes in class. Does Design Space allow us to cut images if we wanted different colors? So I'm not quite sure I understand what you mean. You can cut any image out of whatever color you want. So like this little Merry Christmas design came in onto my canvas as a gray. The whole design was one gray color. And I changed the Merry Christmas to red, and I added the Anderson family and changed that to red. So
I think they're asking about layers. So if you wanted to say Merry in green and Christmas in red.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can do that in Design Space. Yes. You can change it however you want to change it. Yes. And you just, if it's all one layer, you use a tool called Contour, and Contour helps you remove out, think of it like an eraser. So you could contour a layer out and then change the color and then put it back together. I know it doesn't make much sense. I'm trying to think of when I did a class with Contour. If we showed Contour, I'm thinking of one that might be on YouTube for Michael's, because a lot of our classes on this have been placed on. Okay, I'm going to just do Smart Iron-On again. I'm going to send my settings. So my machine settings don't change. It's still 315 degrees at 5 seconds to preheat. So a lot of our classes are on the Michael's YouTube channel that we've done with Cricut. So you could go back and look at some of our other classes too for more ideas if you needed that. Okay, so now this one, I'm going to do different colors on this shirt. So as you see, I have the Anderson family, Merry Christmas, and then the trees. So this is an example of a design that you may want to make for everybody in the family. You'd make the same design, and where using your smart material really would be helpful. And then I just line up in the center and I look and see how far I am on my center line. I'm just going to move it over just a smidge. Make sure I've got it right in the center there. Okay. And then I'm about 3 inches down. So you see how that worked out? Like I have that there on my shirt. And when I remove my hand, you can see I'm 3 inches down from the bottom of the collar, which that's about where I like it to be. Now, I could press that on and come back and then add my trees, but I trimmed the carrier sheet on each design so I can add this layer right to the design without having to change anything. And I'm just going to allow it to overlap where I don't have the design here. So my carrier sheet, there's nothing here, and that's perfectly fine if that goes on to the other carrier sheet. But what I don't want to have happen is my green trees to go onto the other carrier sheet. So I want to make sure that my green trees are not on any of the carrier sheet. And if they are, you can just come back in and trim off that bit of carrier sheet that is blocking your way. And what this does, you can certainly press your design multiple times. Usually if I'm using different materials, I'll do the material that has the higher temperature setting first, and then I'll come back and add, I'll add the next color. So like when I use glitter iron-on material, that usually, that will usually, what am I trying to say? If I use glitter material, that glitter iron-on usually, let me just make sure that doesn't overlap. Okay, so when I use glitter iron-on, that usually goes on at a higher temperature. So I would put that down first, and then I would come back and maybe put my trees down next if they were just an everyday type of.
Can I add one statement?
Yes.
If you are using the foil iron-on, that has to be last.
Yes.
And you do not layer on top of it. Otherwise, if you do it before and iron on top of it, it will crinkle.
Yes. Yeah, the foil is very, you have to be a little bit more careful with the foil. And also, I usually do the glitter as my top, like my last layer.
So there's certain ones that you cannot layer on top of, and glitter is definitely one, and the foil. Any of the others, because you can layer on top of them, it wouldn't matter.
Right.
But the glitter does need to be last, other than the foil needs to be last if you're doing foil and glitter.
Okay. Yeah. Those are good tips to have. And then you learn that through experience, I think, or doing a little bit of research online when you use a new material. See how other people did it. Okay, so I'm going to set this one aside and let this cool down, and I'll show you Adam's shirt because it's now cooled. So we'll see how this one did. And I can just, what I do is I hold my hand in a corner and I'll start to bring back the carrier sheet and make sure that my design is going to stick down. And then I press my hand over it as I move my design, the carrier sheet off of my design. Now, if anything came up or didn't adhere, like if any part of my design didn't adhere down well, I would come back and put my Teflon sheet over that design and then repress the design if I needed to, or just repress that one little spot. So the last design I have to show you all is the voted most likely. And this uses a lot of layers. So what I wanted to show you with that was I wanted to show you a little bit of a different, like how you layer individual layers. So I just did one where we did all the layers together. Now I want to show you how I do it individually. So I'm just going to get to the middle of my shirt here. And I couldn't believe I didn't have a white t-shirt in my stash. So I had to grab an extra one. Okay, so let me just give my little pre-press on there. And you can see I'm using 4 different colors on this design. This has a red layer, a black layer, or gray layer I used. A pink layer and everything. So it's got lots of layers. So what I'm going to do is make sure I've got all my little pieces inside, weed it out. But when I do something like this, because it has so many layers, I am going to take each individual color and apply those each separately. But what I don't do is hold it down for the whole time, because I'm going to be adding multiple layers and adding multiple steps of heat. Now, I believe with Cricut, it's 3 layers is the recommended amount. So although my layers are not touching each other, one on top of the other, I do want to make sure that I don't get too much heat on my design. I think that 3-layer guideline, Anita will help me out, is if you're stacking one color on top of the other, our colors here are not really stacking on top of each other per se.
Correct.
So here's my my square, and I want to see where that's going to fall. Now, obviously, because these, I could trim this down so it would fit inside the square here, which I may be able to do that. Let's see. If I put this down like this, I don't want to risk having it overlap anywhere. So I'm going to do one part of it at a time. So what you don't want to do is take this layer here, like this is my pink layer. And if I go my 3-finger guideline down to the center, I put that there and then I apply it. And then I come back with this guy, and all of a sudden, look how high up in my neckline it is. So when I'm doing multiple layers like this, I like to kind of stack them all together at one time. So I know exactly how far down I need to go from my neckline. So I'm going to put that in there and line that up. So that way I know how far down to bring my design so it will fit on my shirt. Okay, that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'll take this piece off and I'll do my square box first, and I'll apply that on. So we'll just line up along the center. Make sure that is indeed the center. It looks a little off the center. So let's just bring this guy in here. And I'll use this as my center guide. Yeah, that's off center. Let me see if I can do that one again a little better. Oh yeah, that's way off center. Okay, good thing I looked at that. Let's get that lined up a little bit nicer here. Get that out of the way. Also, another thing for me is that I don't tend to wash my shirts before I iron on. People ask that often, like, do I have to wash it before I use it? I don't. If it's for a family member, I might. But if I'm gifting it to somebody else, I definitely don't, because who knows if they have what allergies they might have or anything like that. So I don't want to put any of my detergent into their wash cycle, if you will. So I don't wash it ahead of time. Okay, so I've got that one lined up with my center line there. That looks a lot better. We'll do this layer first. So normally what I would do would be, it would be 315 for 30 seconds, but I don't want to over press this. So I'm going to do it for about 15 to 20 seconds. And I'm just double checking that I am indeed not crooked, because I don't want that line to be crooked. So I'm just going to put it on and I'll hold it for about 15 seconds and then give it a second to cool down, and I'll put on the next layer. So again, I don't stress if one piece or something doesn't adhere down every little bit of it, because I know I'm going to be coming back with more heat and more layers. So let's go ahead and let that one cool off and hope that I got all of my layers here perfectly lined up. So this is coming off. So this one was the editable image here, this design. Turned out pretty cute. And then we've got this one. Yay, nothing stuck. If my tree had gotten on top of the red liner here, it would adhere to the liner. So that would not be favorable. All right. Oh, that turned out so cute. I love those colors. Now for each one of my family members, I'll take these one tree to represent each family member, and their gift tags will have their tree on it, not their name. Tricky like that. Okay, so let me go ahead now and let this cool off a bit, and I'm just going to start at a corner. And again, if I noticed it didn't stay down, I would go pick up a different corner and hope that stayed down a little bit better on one corner than another corner. But you do want to be careful at this point, since it's not adhered down all the way. You don't want to stretch it. So you want to make sure that you're removing it carefully. And especially if you're layering one color on top of another color, you want to make sure you don't stretch it. Okay, so now that I've got that, I can add, I probably can put my most likely to in the middle. We can do that one right in the middle. That one's going to go right there. Look at that, that fits perfectly. And let's hope my square will fit around it. Oh, it's a little bit extra on the sides here, so I can just trim that off. That works. May still be too close for comfort, so I may have to do it as another layer. See that little piece of red there? I want that in my design. All right, so let's see. Yep, I'm clear on the sides. I can check with my gray on the sides. I'm clear there, and I'm clear on the bottom here. So just luckily I have that bottom line. I can make sure I'm all lined up. Now, because my design is not all covered with the sheet, I'm just going to put my, I'll put the Teflon sheet on top of that and press it from there. Got a little far from my cord here. And we'll just add that little medium pressure there. Okay. And then let it cool. My last layer is the little green stars design. That will go in the corner. So let me just let this cool off a bit. Your easy press pad, if you use an easy press pad, it does retain the heat. So if you need to cool something relatively quickly, you can take a piece of glass or something like a candle, or even, you know, like if you have a mug, just take that and run that over the surface, and that will help cool it down. So I removed it from my easy press pad, and then I just use this cool mug. Isn't that fun for Christmas morning, your hot cocoa? So we'll just put that right on there, and that helps cool it down a little bit faster. And then I can peel away again. And if it didn't stick down, again, I'm just going to start at a different corner and come across. So I'll just make sure that that looks good, liking it. And then let me try this one, make sure this one stuck down. That one didn't so much. In that corner. So I'll probably need to hit that one more time. And I need to put that down. So this one isn't coming off as easily as the other ones. So I'm just going to hit that one more time, and then I'll have to come back with the green on there. Let me get my easy press sometimes, maybe because it was under 2 layers, it just didn't get enough heat, but I just was careful and I saw like, okay, no, that's really not coming up. So I want to make sure that I get that down before I try and move it. Just you want to make sure. I just did that little peek and then I was like, nope, got to go back. So I'll add a little bit more heat to it and we'll see what happens. Use my little mug. Kind of try and cool it down a little bit. Now, if I need to, I can trim off the carrier sheet here and do my last press. Still having issues there. I think it's not cooling. Gotta let it cool. That happens when you're live and don't have enough patience. Let me cut this off. Careful not to cut your shirt. Cut that off.
Kesley, could you share your project?
Oh, is this one not shared?
I don't see it in the.
Okay.
Let me look.
I really do.
Yeah, I did not get the links.
Okay. Oh, with the group? There we go.
Yes.
Okay, now it's coming. Yes, I will absolutely do that. Thank you, Anita. Okay, so now it's coming off. And I'm just going to be really careful because I'm doing it when it's still hot. I'm just going to carefully pull it off and hold it down as I go. There we go. Oh, that looks so cute. I think this might be my shirt. Okay, so there we go. I just needed to give it time to cool. And then my last piece here, I'm going to put that on top. Right there. And then I'll do my last press. Now my last press I will do for 30 seconds. So I'll hold it down for 30 seconds, then flip it over for another 30 seconds. And in there. Anita, do you think it's okay if I show everybody how to find the projects?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that would be great.
Okay. Once this is done and I flipped, I will do that. Okay, and then I just want to flip it over that one last time, make sure everything is nice and pressed down. So I put that there and I do my last flip right there, 15 seconds, and we're good to go. Okay, and I'm going to share my screen here to show you when you're looking for any of my designs in Design Space, or if you see somebody else's designs you like, you can go to their profile. So to find my profile and the projects I shared today, if you click on home and then do a search with my name, Kesley. I know everyone wants to say it the other way. The S goes before the L, and you do Anderson. Then you can come into my profile here, my community member, click on Kesley Anderson there, and then you'll see all the projects we did today are shared with the community. So those are available for you. If you like them, you can click on that project and go, oh, I like that one, I want to save it. And you can feel free to follow me in Design Space and see all the projects that I'm sharing for the holidays and everything. Okay, so this is my last one. Whoops, not cool. Not cooled yet. It's cool. It's just not cooled off yet. So it's still, I gotta leave it there and let it cool off before I peel it. All right, guys. Well, that has been a fabulous class. We did 3 t-shirts today. I do think that most likely to Get Sassy with Santa will be the one I wear, but look how fun is this? And again, think about using that smart material, 9 feet of it. You can really do a number on your for your family and give everybody a shirt to match their pajamas. Thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed the class. Don't forget, if you want to share what you make, use the hashtag Cricut with Michaels. Thanks, guys. Have a great afternoon. Thanks, Anita, for all your help.